tech savvy.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to talk to you. You you did phenomenal for your first book.
Thank
You did you
you.
did, you
Thanks for
did
having me on
phenomenal.
here too.
You're welcome. So introduce yourself, tell everybody who you are and what genre you write in and anything you want them to know before we start this interview.
Yeah, I can do that. So I'm Ocean A. Brown. I actually had my debut novel come out October of last year, so 2024. I write dark fantasy, as well as dark romance now because I was part of an anthology that came out last week. So yeah, now I'm in dark romance and dark romantasy. So
How the hell did I miss that?
I don't know, it's right here. I finally got like a physical.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
So to start us off, I'm gonna start talking about your book, A Fate of Onyx and Ivory.
Okay.
My questions aren't written down. Sometimes I do have to jot down things so I can remember what I had in my head, but usually it's just off the top of my head, and then from there we're gonna talk about just fantasy in general.
Cool.
All right, all right. So, what inspires you to? First of all, what inspired the title, A Fate of Onyx Ivory, and how does it connect to the themes of the story?
You know what's funny is I've done so many like interviews. I had my own like event. No one's asked me that. No one has asked me that. Um, so Fate of Onyx and Ivory,
Mhm.
basically, it has to do literally with just the colors. You know, onyx, you have dark,
Mhm.
ivory, you have the light. And pretty
Mhm.
much it's like, okay, fate's gonna take you either direction to the darkness or to the light. And if it's the darkness, you're gonna have to decide, like, okay, is dark really that bad? Or is it just what everyone says? Like, okay, the
Yeah.
darkness is scary, but is it really?
Yeah.
Um, so it ties into the book because Amira's gonna have to decide, like, do I go back to my normal life, you know, where I guess you would say like the light is the human aspect,
Mhm.
or do I stay with the darkness, which is, you know, the immortal aspect of like the fae, the witches, the dark magic, and everything like that.
Hmm. Can you share a bit about the world you've created in this book and what makes it unique within fantasy genres?
Yeah. So basically, Solaris is one of the first realms, and I say one of the first because there's multiple realms in my book. It's a series, part of a series.
Mhm.
And Solaris is pretty much, I would say, like the lighter aspect of fantasy, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you read a lot of fantasy, and I portray it as dark fantasy, so dark romantasy. So people are like, okay, well, where's the darkness? Well, it's coming, you know. But Solaris is pretty much the brighter aspect of things. Like, oh, look how good you could have it here in this immortal world. You know, if you stay here, as compared to look how crappy your human world is.
Yeah.
Um, and pretty much, you know, usually most of the time when you jump into fantasy, it's like, oh wow, look how amazing this place is, it's great. And that's what Solaris is. And it's like, are you looking at everything while you're here, or are you just like, oh, it's fantasy, this is great, like I love this world? Or are you picking up on everything?
Hmm. So who are who are the main characters in your book and what inspired their creation?
Yeah, so the main female character is Amira.
Hmm.
um, Almost everyone that has read it is like, is she based off of you because of her attitude and everything? I'm like, no. Um, and then the main male character is Rain.
Mm.
Um, Everyone asks me who they're based off of, and I have no one. And that I'm not making that up. Like, it just popped in my head one day while I was running on the treadmill for
Mm.
this story, and that's how it happened. The only thing I have is that the girl's name came from the movie You People with Lauren London.
Oh.
Amira, yeah, because I love Lauren London. That's all I have. I took them from no one. The story just popped in my head.
Jeez. So your book intertwines with, I guess you could say, destiny and duality.
Mhm.
How do you approach exploring these themes through the story and the character?
So pretty much, I'm trying to figure out how to say it without giving things away. I'm still new to this, so I have to be careful. Do you watch like Marvel at all?
Absolutely. I
You know
am a
how Tom
very,
Holland in the interview always gives away stuff that he's not supposed to
yeah.
say? That's gonna be me. Um, so basically, I guess I can say that a little bit of me bleeds into Amira.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because you think you have everything figured out, right? Like I know Amira in my book, she is 24.
Yeah.
And at 24, I really thought I truly in my heart thought I had everything figured out, okay?
I think we all, ah, I think we all did.
And that age I won't put it on here, but there is a reasoning I made her that age because that's an age for me where I thought I had it all figured out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, my destiny's set. And Amira goes through so much
Mm-hmm.
bef- before the book even starts. And as it progresses, she's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought this is where my life was going. And you hit all these turning points. And it's
Mm.
like, oh, I guess I really didn't know what destiny is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can I have my cake and eat it too? Can I have
Yeah.
this life in the mortal realm? Can I have this life in the mortal realm? Do I need to choose? So that's pretty much how it plays in the book.
Okay. So what role does magic um play in the world of your book, and how does it reflect or challenge societal structures with the narrative?
Yeah. So basically, magic does play a huge part. There, in my book, you have magic and you have dark magic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how political do we want to get here?
Okay. My space is open. I love hearing what authors have to say honestly. Don't even hold back. Honestly. This
um,
platform is a safe space.
cool, perfect. So pretty much, it plays a role in the immortal realms. Pretty much everyone has magic.
Mm-hmm.
There's tiers to the magic. You
Mm-hmm.
know, servants have obviously less magic than the higher ups.
Mm-hmm.
Sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it pretty much plays a role of okay, well, you're higher up. You have this amount of magic. Are you going to use it for good? You're going to
Mm.
use it to help people? How's that? How does that affect me? How does that make me look?
Mm.
Depending on who Amira becomes close to, who she's friends with, um, you know, figuring out if she's going back home, does that play a part? And I feel like brings back to the onyx and ivory, dark magic, everyone looks at it as bad. Is it bad? Is it good? Can it help me? Is it safe to go ahead and dabble in it? Like, how does that work? So I won't say anything else. I'm scared
So
of
you have more of like a classes system to your magic, where I guess classism, um and systematic. I don't know if I could say systematic racism, but
it's it, it's pretty much you can read it. Like I don't put titles on it,
mm,
like I don't put like there is a high king, so
yeah,
high king like that, but there's no titles to the magic, but you can just tell. Like
yeah,
they'll let her know, like, okay, well, here's a servant, they have lesser magic,
yeah.
or here's this is what I have. Obviously, hey,
Mm,
I'm this person, and this is my rank, and this is what I have. So
mm. So, what is the most challenging part of writing this book? What was the most challenging part about writing this book, and how did you overcome it?
I would say the most challenging part of writing this book was continuing to write the story how I wanted it to be told and not what everyone else wanted. You know,
Mm.
before I was an author, I was an influencer. I still feel like I promote books. I will always promote other people's books. I don't care of how many books I write. I will forever have other people's books on my page.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of those books are smutty, very, very smutty. Like I don't like. I like what I like. Okay.
Facts.
Um, but for my first book in this series, I wanted to make sure I got the. Do I have a flower crown?
Yes, she gave you a garland headpiece.
Oh my god, that's so cute. I'm so. Can you tell I'm like never on TikTok? I don't know. But I made sure that I wanted the story to get across before I jumped right into this the spice. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I fought with it hard. There were pieces I was putting in, taking out, putting in, taking out, and I was like, you know what? If people know me, they know at some point in this story is going to get spicy. So I think that was the hardest aspect of making sure that I stayed true to what I wanted the story to get across.
Mm. I I love that honestly because when authors are authentically themselves in their books and they're not pressured into writing shit that is just not outside of their norm, it comes across more genuine compared to being pushed into something because of a trend or because you saw one of your colleagues or whatever doing something and you like, oh, maybe I should do that because they became New York Times bestsellers or some shit.
Yes, yes, and I think I announced the title back in July. It might have been before that. I really don't know, but I'm a huge Fourth Wing fan. And
Mm.
after I said Onyx and Ivory, here comes Onyx Storm, and I was like, oh, oh shit. And my PA had to talk me down from changing. She's like, "Girl, you already said it. Like, this is yours." And I was like, "Okay, okay." And then I was like, "Oh, should I make it like higher fantasy?" I had to get out of my head.
Mm.
It was bad. So pretty much
So,
hard time. Just stick to myself of what I wanted.
so were there any real life events, myths, or personal experiences that influenced you in the story at all?
Absolutely. Um, I can't say who or what, but there was someone that did me very, very dirty at the age of 24. And it's in here. The names aren't in here, but the things that happen play a role. Like all my close friends that read it, my family that read it were like, "Is that?" I was like, "Yeah." So there's absolutely, I pull from dark times of my life
Mm-hmm.
and I pulled from some of the lighter times in my life and blended it together and put it in a fantasy world. So, like I said, the Onyx and Ivory, absolutely. But trying to think like, because you asked, what was it? You said, was there real life events? And then you said,
Real life events, myths, because sometimes in fantasy, black people and people of color, we pull from our culture to write, our fantasy, even
yeah,
though it's not, sometimes we don't consciously even think about it. It just comes out on the pages.
yeah, myths. I don't watch me say no, and then it's like something I didn't know I put in there. But when I tell you, sometimes I go back and I read, and I'm like, I wrote that. Like,
Mm.
how did I get here? So really, I would honestly say like I pull from events or just any event that happened to me, and I'm like, how I wish it would have went down, but
Mm.
I'll put it like that.
Mm. So how do you balance creating a compelling plot, right, with rich, I guess, world building in your fantasies? Like how do you keep that authentic to the imagination?
That's so crazy because so when I read fantasy, like I would read high fantasy, I'll read whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like okay, like I don't know, like how I said okay, Fourth Wing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and they're talking. I just finished Onyx Storm, and they're going to this here, 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 and I'm like, was this mentioned in the first book? Because I don't know where we are right now. So when I wrote mine, I have different realms, you know, and I have a map in the beginning, but I wanted to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, I'm like, okay, we're gonna build this world,
Mm-hmm.
but it's gonna be like basically I live in Illinois. I'm
Mm-hmm.
right outside Chicago.
I'm in Chicago.
Oh, duh. Like, so you know, right? Okay,
Yeah.
outside Chicago, I could be like Joliet. I could be like Kankakee. Everyone's gonna be like, okay, well, I know what that. That's kind of how I wanted it, you know.
Mm.
So I wanted it to be like, okay, she says Solaris, or she says here. I won't say the other places. I can remember that instead of having to go back, like, oh, it's this tier connected to this and this and this. I just wanted a simple world building
Mm.
that connects to the plot, and you don't have to go back and flip the page, like, okay, where is this on the map? So,
Mm.
from what I've heard so far, people have said like the world building is very easy to connect
Mm.
with. Book two, I'm trying to make it like that as well.
Yeah, because some high fantasy is just like, what?
Ooh,
Like, what? I
you
need an
know,
encyclopedia. What?
so I did my best to keep it, you know, I know where we are, and I can just I can recall that super easy.
Yeah. So, as now, do you identify as a black woman, biracial, or Latino?
I'm black
Black.
woman.
Okay. I have to ask. I have to ask.
Yeah,
We are
yeah,
not a monolith.
yeah.
But as a black woman, writing fantasy, how did you infuse your perspective and cultural influences into this book?
Oh, that's a loaded question. You know, hmm. There's just like it's like what part of the list do I want to say?
I mean, I'm sorry. It's just I'm so intrigued about fantasy writers. So when these questions be popping in my head, I'll be like, do I ask it or don't I? But I have to know. I'm
Yeah,
curious. All right,
yeah.
I really am.
You know, I think the main one is, you know, as black women, I don't know. Do you have any kids?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know when I have one, I'm sticking with one. I got one. I'm sticking with one. But you know, and you go through everything, pregnancy, labor and delivery, and they're always telling you like, "Oh yeah, you can handle it. You can take the pain. You can handle it. You don't need this. You don't need that."
Mhm.
And we carry a lot.
Yeah.
Women in general carry a lot.
Yeah.
Tack on being a black woman, you carry a lot.
Yeah.
No, it's like it stacks.
Yeah.
And Amira, she has all the weight on her shoulders. Like it just feels like she has all the weight of the world, the worry,
Mm-hmm.
the taking care of her family on her shoulders.
Mm.
And you know that's portrayed from the very, I swear it's like the very first couple pages of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes, I feel, at least to me, I felt like it came a point in my life where sometimes, you know, you don't have to do it all on your own. And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes either another person. It can be a significant other, it can be a friend, a best friend, anyone to open your
Mm-hmm.
eyes and see like, hey, hello, turn the light on. You don't have to do it on your own. Even though society wants you to do it on your own, you don't
Yeah.
have to do it on your own.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I would say the second piece is sometimes, you know, I make sure I don't give a lot away. But they they don't want to they don't want to put themselves in your shoes, but they want what you
Mm.
have. I can't give a lot away, but
Mm.
they want what you have, and a lot of that will come out in the future books.
Wow. Um. Wow. So, what do you hope readers like take away from the story, especially readers who may not often see themselves represented in fantasy?
The number one thing I want people to take away, at least by the end of the series,
Mm,
is that no matter what you think, the hard times are always going to pass.
mm,
But bottom line, what you have to do is you have to sit down, look at yourself, and see everything that you're capable of to get you out of that dark time.
mm. So, do you see your book as part of a bigger movement towards diversity in fantasy literature?
I never like to be like, yes, I do, but yeah, yeah, I could see that absolutely. I have so many people that reach out just on the cover alone.
Yeah.
And the cover alone was something I struggle with on deciding what to do with it. But yeah, I could see that absolutely.
So, what's the most rewarding moment? Like, what was the most rewarding moment bringing this book into life?
Oh, I would say when I had my event at the last chapter in Chicago,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh
I'm
God, I was
so
like,
happy. I'm so fucking pissed. I missed that.
I was saying you weren't there too. I was like, oh God, I was like, there's gonna be 5 people in addition to my family out there. Like, this is gonna be so stupid. I'm in the back room and I'm texting my husband. I'm like, dude, is there anyone out there? He's so goofy. He's like, you gonna see? I'm like, oh, okay. So like I come out and it's sold out. Like it's completely sold out.
Yeah.
My family's in the front row and like there's not a seat that's not filled. And I think the most rewarding moment was all the questions about like either the questions or just the statements of you gave us a black FMC and I'm like I did, with the curly hair and it's
Hmm.
just like it was just rewarding to see like how many other women are like yeah, I'm reading a book that I look like her, I can relate to her, my hair looks like her, that was the most rewarding moment.
So let's talk about representation and identity in fantasy.
Yeah.
So fantasy is often, I guess, like seen as a space with limitless imagination, right? And how do you navigate creating worlds that reflect the richness of the black identity while breaking stereotypes in that genre? Because there's so many stereotypes in that genre when it comes to black people.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out how to answer that one. That is a low. You know, I feel like when
Mm-hmm.
I write off of what I know,
Mm-hmm.
what I've experienced, and sometimes it's like just for I guess I'll give an example. Amira, she's promiscuous,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and often you'll hear like either black men or black women, oh, they're promiscuous, isn't it? Everyone is. Okay, like it has nothing to do with race, and even if she is, who gives a damn? Like it gets tired. That got tiring a lot, and I grew up with hearing it about other people a lot, and I put that in my book because okay, and if she is, what the fuck about it?
Yeah.
You still gonna get shit done, like,
Facts. Facts.
and so it's just like I'm sure there's a bunch of things that play into my book, and I just don't notice them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you read it, I'm sure you would notice like okay, like this is a stereotype we deal with a lot, or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I wouldn't even notice it because I deal with it all the time. That
Yeah.
oh, it's in the book, I didn't notice, or the hair,
Yeah.
um, my artist, by the way, my cover artist, amazing
Yeah.
because I was like her hair has to be on point. Like I don't want like the slightly wavy hair. She has to have so it's just the stereotypes of everything in my book. I
Yeah.
try to make sure that whatever anyone sees all of us as, that not everyone is that way.
Yeah. I feel like in fantasy there are so much stereotypes where they try to whitewash us. So much so that you can't even tell that the character is black anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and that is why I'm kind of playing into my cover, but I almost didn't put her on the cover.
Why?
I almost didn't put her on the cover. I had another idea, and I was actually sitting right here in this spot, and because I had asked my husband, and I'm sure you've seen my husband on my
Hmm.
page. He's white, okay, and, and I had asked him, and he was like, "It's your book. I can't tell you what to do." All the door was closed. I was sitting here, and he opens the door, and he was like, "Why wouldn't you put her on the cover?"
Mm.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like he doesn't read. He is not a reader. He was like, "I'm just saying, like I go with you to Barnes and Noble all the time, and I see white girls on the cover all the time." He's like, "Why wouldn't you put her on the cover?" And I was
Hmm.
like, I don't know." And he was like, "I'm just saying, you've said yourself you walk down these aisles and you don't see anyone that looks like you except maybe one or two, like Legendborn and Lure of the Wilds, like." And I was like, "Oh, so are you telling?" He's like, "I mean, I think you know what you need to do." And I was like, "Oh, okay." He was like, "All right, bye." And just closed the door. So and that kind of gave me the thing like, let me put her on the cover because I don't want
Yeah.
nobody whitewashing her or saying like she's super light skinned, which nothing wrong with that, obviously. But,
Yeah.
I said, Brown's, like I said what I said, this is her skin tone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
I'm
get that.
glad you put her on the cover because black women are underrepresented as in the fantasy literature genre. And so let me ask you this. What challenges have you faced as a black woman writing in this genre, and how do you overcome them?
I have seen, no one has said anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I like to tell my husband this all the time. People know who they can and can't play with.
Mm-hmm.
He always says that. He's like, "You have a mean face. Like you are very nice." He's like, "But you have a face of like, don't fucking try it and don't." Um, but I have seen like, "Oh, I don't read black fantasy because I can't correlate with the characters, or I can't put myself." And in my head I'm like, "But I read about everything. Like you can read about a dragon, but you can't read about a black. Like
Mm-hmm.
what am I missing here?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so all it does when I see stuff like that is I'm just gonna write more,
Yeah.
and then I'm just gonna keep going because like, what do you mean? Like, why can't you read it because of her skin tone? That's weird.
It really is. It's weird as hell.
Like, I'm obsessed with Akatar. I love Nesta. Nesta's white.
I think I think sometimes people really believe in reverse racism, even though that's really not a thing. I some people just really believe in that to the point where when black people make these books in white predominant spaces, they automatically say, "Oh, I can't see myself in this character, so I can't read it." I don't see myself in a lot of characters I read it because The Hobbit was not about me. Okay, Game of Thrones was not about me.
Yeah, like,
So, but I read those books
yeah.
and I enjoyed those books. So therefore, how is it that you can't see yourself in black literature, in black fantasy, and the first thing you say is, "Oh, I can't see myself as those characters. I can't relate." First of all, it's fantasy.
Like, it's literally like, would I love for them to be real? Absolutely, absolutely. But it's just it's very fucking weird. I
It
don't
is.
I will never understand it, but I will say, me personally, I have had nothing but good vibes so far.
Yeah.
And that's the honest truth, but honestly, that's who you surround yourself with too, and that includes social media.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of black women, white women, Hispanic women, everyone that has been
Mm-hmm.
rooting for me,
Mm-hmm.
and knock on wood,
Mm-hmm.
because the people I have been surrounded with are just simply amazing. But I have seen it, not towards me, but it just blows my mind that I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm watching you.
So what are some of the specific like biases and barriers you've heard or encountered in like publishing, marketing, or even your honest audience reception as a black female fantasy author?
Hmm. Girl, I don't even know where to start with that. Especially I mean, if you literally look, I mean, you just, like I said, you just have to walk in Barnes and Noble and you look at, go look at the end tables and everything of the published black fantasy authors.
Mm-hmm.
And really, the only ones I see is Anna Leigh, Sabrina, the Lord of the Wilds, because she's amazing. I love her. So
Mm-hmm.
that cover, amazing. Um, Legendborn, I that name is slipping me. Oh my god, no one crucify me, please.
Don't ask me.
I can't remember, but I see that that's it. And I don't even see those anymore.
No, no, they took
Cuz
them off the tables.
yeah, because for a long time they're on the tables and I would take a picture and be like, put it on Instagram. Where else? And I know for a fact, like, one is Ellie Shante. Hers is up there on my shelf somewhere. The Living Legend, like, bomb book,
Mm.
bomb. Why does she not have? No one's reached out. Like, it's just so weird because I know for a fact you can't tell me that they're not seeing things on TikTok or they're not seeing us on Instagram, and I just don't have an answer for it.
You would think, you would think that we have moved past this. You would think. So have you ever felt pressure to conform to certain narratives or expectations when crafting your stories? And if so, how do you push back against that pressure?
Oh yeah. Oh my god, yeah. No, I've never caved to pressure at all. Look, I'll just be real honest. Me growing up, I went to private school my whole life through college.
Mm,
I was the only black girl, one other black girl in my grade school, one other black girl in my high school. Like, I've always dealt with it.
mm,
Um, and unfortunately, in those high school years, I have no idea if you ever went through this phase, but I went through the phase of my hair gotta be straight. Oh my
mm,
god, I gotta be like this. I gotta be, and you spend a long time trying to change yourself to fit into the norm.
mm.
And then I got I would say, into college, out of college, and I'm like, why was I doing that? What?
Yeah.
We okay here? Uh, and so, then I will never say who, but I'm just looking at the cover right now. I had posted my cover reveal and someone had messaged me and they're like, I'm shocked that you didn't make her your skin tone. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they were like, well, like closer to you because you're mixed. And I was like, I'm not mixed. And they were like, well, you're light. I was like, I'm what? Hmm? And they're like, well, I just thought that more of you would bleed into the story. I was like, well, it is. She's black. I'm black. Like, where are we going with this? Yeah. And then, and I'll be very honest, they'll see like my husband is white. So they'll think like, oh, well, you know, she'll lean towards one side. They're like, babes, no. No. It's
This
all.
is crazy.
It's,
This is
oh, yeah.
crazy.
Oh, yeah. I've had some things that are very, very questionable. Like, in the beginning of the story, one of her love interests, I've had someone message me like, are they white? And I'm like, at no time did I like think of like what why. It's like it's yeah, it gets very very odd.
Oh boy. Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yes.
So how do you think systematic bias in the literary world impacts the success and um visibility of like black authors,
Mm.
particularly in fantasy?
Honestly, unfortunately, I think at this point it's who you know.
Mm,
I don't have another answer. I don't honestly with this question. It's like I don't know.
mm,
I don't know how we can. I literally don't know.
mm.
Like I don't know if my book is good enough
Yeah,
to be signed to an agency. I don't know,
I think so, but
but well, thank you. But I know for a fact some others are, and I
mm,
know for a fact that there's no reason that they haven't been contacted. So
mm,
it's just like at that point, it's like, okay, is it who you know? Is it the crowd you keep? Like, I don't know. Like, I have no answer at this point.
mm. Do you feel the fantasy genre has made progress to embracing diversity,
Mhm.
or is it still stuck in the outdated paradigms of
No, I
this?
definitely, yeah, I definitely feel like it's made progress.
Okay.
Absolutely, I do. I have to say that I feel like it has absolutely made progress, 100%. It's just it's still that little bitty part that's just will not push forward.
So you know what Afrofuturism is, right?
That's a big word.
Or African mythology.
Oh,
Afrofuturism is just like African mythology, more on a sci-fi level of
yeah.
fantasy.
Oh, that I got that.
So, how do you see those elements shaping the future of fantasy?
Oh, that would be so cool.
I know, I know. There is a comic book called Bitterroot that does it very well. Does it very well.
There's
It's,
one coming out, and dang,
you
I
talking
wish
about
I
the
was.
children of the? Let me fuck. I'm gonna fuck it up. I know I am because I never. The children of blood and brute, blood and that
Blood,
bone.
blood and bone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that I mean that could be considered also Afrofuturism.
yeah,
Fantasy.
yeah. Did you see the cast for that?
Yes.
I was like, whoa.
But see, I don't too much like the books because it was just not my thing. But probably will enjoy the movie.
The movie, yeah, yeah. That cast is like, oh, okay. Oh, y'all were serious. Okay, I'm here for it. I, I honestly, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. You asked how's it gonna shape. I
Yeah,
think a whole shit ton of them are gonna be turned into movies just like that.
you think
Because
so?
our ideas.
Mm.
I mean, if you look at movies now, everything's a remake, remake, remake. No one
True,
has any new ideas. All these new movies are coming from books.
true, true. That's true. I mean, Afrofuturism is been like off to the side of fantasy and
Hmm.
really hasn't been taken seriously except like really in comic books and cartoons or web series.
Hmm.
So I would love to see some of these. I wish Bitterroot would become a whole series,
Yeah.
like because it's giving Lovecraft Country, but more of Lovecraft Country meet Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but
Yeah.
black
Yeah.
with Full Metal Alchemist in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think, definitely thanks to social media too, though. Like, I think it's on the rise.
I um I wonder, what advice would you give an aspiring like black woman who is trying to get into fantasy and feels like there's too many challenges in the industry because of her skin color and her
Hmm.
gender? What would
Hmm.
be your advice?
My advice would be one, first off, write it no matter what. That's gonna be the first
Yeah.
step. Two is if you see someone like if you're thinking about writing, obviously you have an author that you like reading their stuff. If someone like me, reach out to us. Like
Mhm.
I am not a gatekeeper. Like I will help as much as I can. I have no idea if what worked for me will work for you. But all I can say is that in this community of what I have experienced is everyone has helped me as much as they can for who I've reached out to. And that's not even just black women.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other races that see how much you struggle as a
Mm,
black person in fantasy, and they're kind of tired of it too.
mm,
Um, so they will help you as well. You know, it's always going to be, you know, you're always going to go towards your race when you need help first, you know.
mm-hmm.
But there's definitely other races out there that are like, oh no, we see the bullshit. Here, look, what do you need help with? What can I help you with? So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for the help or the guidance that can help you get where you want to be.
So how can readers and publishers and just the literary community um help better support Black authors in fantasy?
Share,
Mm,
share, literally. Oh my god, even if you don't like fantasy, you could literally just share a picture of someone's book cover or a person. Like, it's literally word of mouth. That's
mm,
it. Like, we don't even need a 3-page review.
yeah.
We don't even need a 3-paragraph review. You could literally just post the book and say, wow, look at this cover, or hey, debut author, or anything, just to get the word out there, and it would help.
So if you could envision the ideal future for Black representation in fantasy, what would it look like?
Getting more movie deals, just like they did for Children of Blood and Bone. Having these big release parties, just like it is for like Fourth Wing and ACOTAR and things like that. Walking into a bookstore, and when you look at those end tables, it's evenly filled with the diversity of authors. You know, not having to go up to the bookteller and saying, "Hey, do you have this book?" No, but we can order it. Like, why isn't it just on the table?
Mm,
Um, that's what I see. Like, not having to fight to be seen anymore.
yeah. That sucks in itself. That sucks in itself.
Yep.
So, looking back on your journey, right?
Mhm.
With your book, what would you tell your younger self before starting the book?
My younger self before starting. In regards to writing or just life in general?
Both.
Life in general would be, this is like even before college, would be to take that gap year. Because I
Hmm.
do feel like if I had a gap year between high school and college, I would have figured out way sooner that I wanted to be a writer. But when you go from high school straight into college, you're like, I got to hurry up and figure out what I want to do and blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
I truly do feel like I either would have been like into like the English reading or just been like, oh, like I really want to write. Um, but if I could go back about like being an author,
Hmm.
that's a hard one. I think that it would have been start promoing way earlier than I did.
Mm,
You know, like I feel like cuz I was just in the book, it worked out for me cuz I was already in the book community, but I think that if I would have been like, hey, I'm going to have a book coming out. Hey, I'm gonna have a book coming out. You know, I was doing it as like a surprise, which it worked for me. But I think maybe if I would have got the word out sooner, more black men and women would have been like, oh, there's gonna be a new black author. Oh, like what are you writing? What is it gonna be? What is it gonna be? I think that would have helped.
would it be helpful? And this is just a random question. Like, would it be helpful for like? Because I know there are a lot of readers that have started companies,
Mm-hmm.
PR companies, management companies, or whatever for independent authors and book influencers. Would it be helpful if there was a company that did uh release parties for you guys? Like help get the word out and do a whole release party for you guys where people actually come to an event and it's a party just like it would be for Fourth Wing, like it would be for things like that. Would that be helpful as indie authors and some hell hybrid authors, because even being traditionally published doesn't mean you get to get those type of parties.
Right. Yes, yes, and no.
Mm,
I feel like I feel like that's a double-edged sword. And I have no idea if you're gonna agree with me.
mm,
One, I say no because we should be allowed to be treated just as traditional. You know,
mm,
there's some indie authors that H.C. Carlton,
mm,
she's selling crazy, making crazy. Like, you know, she deserves it.
mm,
Um, I just, but then it would be beneficial because they're looking out for us. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like it's a
mm,
double edged sword. It's like why can't we just get what everyone else gets? As long as as long as we're people are actually interested. You know,
yeah.
if I'm selling like 2 copies, why do I need a release? You know, but
I'm talking about like if you have when you have your following set up
mhm,
and you want to have that same benefit, but you're not in a position where you're under a publishing company,
yeah,
but you want to do a release party because you do have those readers and then you can also get new readers that will be like, oh, a release party for an indie author, I've never seen that.
yeah,
So it was just something I was thinking about, like
yeah. I
why
think
we
it
don't do
definitely absolutely could help. I think so. Absolutely. You know, it's just so heartbreaking too that like we it takes someone to make a company like that. Do you know what I mean?
that. Mm-hmm.
To get it done. But I will say, like, my release party that I had at TLC, Amanda helped me, and thank God, because, like, who else would I have gone to?
Mm.
So, like, Barnes and Noble's not going to give me a release party.
I'm
They're
so
not going to
sick
let
of
me do
them.
a signing.
I'm so sick of them. Um, so what's next for you? What is gonna go down with the series? How many books can we expect from you? And you said you broke off into dark romance.
I did. I
Can you,
did.
before we get out of here, could you tell us more about your dark romance story and the anthology that you are in?
Yeah, so okay, so I have it here. So first off, this anthology is called Rage. And I don't know if anyone has seen it, but all proceeds from it go to the Chicago Abortion Fund. We get none of the proceeds. So
Mm,
it's pretty much a FU to the people that continuously want to control women's bodies, and we're tired of it. So the whole anthology is just dark romance. So smutty, dark, it's so big that this is actually the first volume. There's 3 of them.
wow.
So you can do paperback or you can do ebook. It's on the Zon. Amazon. Don't want to say the name. But yeah, it's available there, and then all the proceeds from it go to that foundation. My story in there is A River Red, is the name of it. Um, Pretty much it's another girl. I can actually hold on. Let me see. Give me a second here. Because when you have to go back and like read your own stories, I'm like,
Someone said I just got here. Can you show the cover again?
oh yeah, this is for the anthology that I'm a part of, and then this is my book.
And
So
it's a
this,
fantasy. It's dark fantasy, right?
yeah, this is Dark Romantasy. So it's book 1 of a series of the Obsidian Blade series. Um, Let me see here. So, because I feel like it's such a short blurb, and that would like, yeah, okay. So, pretty much my character is stuck in a dead end relationship with an emotionally unavailable fiance and no support system. So she's just trying to make best of like, the world she's having to deal with right now, all the situations she's dealing with. But of course, all of that changes when her stalker shows up and is trying to open her eyes of like, hey, what the fuck are you about to get yourself into? Why don't you wake up and see everything that's going on around you? So, pretty much he comes along and he's like, why don't you open your eyes and see what your spouse has really got going on behind closed doors? And pretty much the rage of after she finds out everything that's going on is what fuels her to get that shit together.
It's always a goddamn stalker. It's oh God, y'all in
Right?
this dark romance. Good
With a
God.
mask.
with a mask. Oh, shit.
So, yeah, that's I think mine. It's an anthology. It's pretty short, but I love that story, and I let my mom read it.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
she had questions.
could you tell them again where the proceeds are going and
Yeah,
where they can get your book?
yeah. So all the proceeds from this one go to the Chicago Abortion Fund. Like I said, it's pretty much a snapback to all those men that want to keep controlling women's bodies because we're sick of it. So we don't make any money from this. Anytime you purchase the ebook or the paperback copies, that is all donated to the Chicago Abortion Fund.
And could you show us your book?
Yeah, so this is my book baby, my debut novel, A Fate of Onyx and Ivory. Um, that's my baby Amira on the front, the main character. Um, Basically, this one is a dark romantasy. Like I said, it's part of a book series, the Obsidian Blade series. Pretty much, Amira has to provide for her family. And things take a turn when she meets a witch that gives her a chance to make a deal, and everything goes haywire. She ends up meeting a fae male, and she's like, oh snap, like, I'm in a whole different world, I'm in a whole different realm. And she starts falling for him, and she's like, okay, do I return to my life of poverty with my family? Do I stay here with this man that I just met that is immortal? Like, what is this world that's happening around me right now? And then at the same time, she's like, wait a minute, there's a lot going on, and she has to take the time to open her eyes and see, like, okay, is everything what it seems, or like, am I just being blinded by the light of this fine ass man that's standing in front of me?
Well, that'll do it. That'll do it. Well, I appreciate you for coming on here. See, the interview wasn't that bad.
No, no. I was like, listen, my whole panic was, am I going to know how to join the live?
That is always the panic of people when they get on this. They be like, "Oh, Storm, I gotta ask you how I get on here."
I was like, I was telling my husband, I was like, I don't know what to do. He was like, you're ridiculous. I was like, I know. Technology, I'm terrible. And I'm a
Yes,
gamer. So how does that
please.
work?
Ooh, what's your favorite game?
Call of Duty.
Oh, not you too. Not you.
Mortal Kombat, Call of Duty.
Okay, Mortal Kombat. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Mortal Kombat. I hate when they do these puzzle pieces on here.
Puzzle piece? I didn't see
Well, it's a puzzle piece when you're like, it's TikTok.
Oh, thank you for saying you to get my book. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you writing this book and bringing black women into fantasy. I know it's a lot of black fantasy authors, but it's always appreciated and needed. So I appreciate you for going into that genre. Same with dark romance. There need to be more black authors that go into dark romance. I am not a dark romance girl. I was traumatized by my first dark romance. I have not been back
What
since.
was it? What was it? I gotta know.
DB Reed. I mean, she's not my first, but the book traumatized the fuck out of me to the point that I can't even read any of her books at all. Even if it's not dark romance, I can't. It just so I have to take baby steps and back into dark romance. So I'm doing the baby dark romance books.
I can give you Rex if you need them. So just message me. I got you.
So BB Reed book just really, yeah. I can no, no. I think she's a wonderful author because anybody who can come up with that shit is amazing.
I think maybe, I tell all the time, I don't know if you've seen my Instagram where my husband like reads the chapters from dark romances. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, I make him like read like really crazy chapters
Jesus.
from certain dark romance books. And so the last one, my most recent one, he read from the anthology, my very first dark romance piece. And he opened the door and he was like, "Are you all right?" I was like, he's like, "Why?" I was like, "I don't know." He was like, "All right," just sat on the couch.
I try to get into dark romance. I really do, but boy, I mean, there are some things in real life that I do, and I'm. You would think, now why can't you read it? I don't know. It's when I read it,
It's different. You know,
it's,
you're doing a movie in your head and you're putting it to how you read it, so it's different.
and then in real life, it's like, oh, this ain't shit.
Mm-hmm.
But when I read it, it's not correlating.
Yeah.
It's you know,
I can agree.
there was a scene in BB Reed book where the guy was like, "Give me back my water," and so I was just like, "What did he? No!" I was
Listen,
like, "No!"
and I just sit there and read it with a straight face, like, oh, okay.
It took a minute for me to catch on, and then when I caught on, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna close this." Yep.
But now you're gonna have to read this one. It's required.
Oh my god, y'all are killing me. My business partner Shannon, my friend, she is a dark romance connoisseur. That's her bread and butter. Nothing but dark. So she told me not to read the book, but I was like, no, I can read this. I can read this. I shouldn't listen to her.
I just love. I will say a lot of my followers were shocked that my first book was not a dark romance.
Mm.
They were like fantasy. Yeah, they were very shocked.
Well, I you know what? I can read dark fan romanticy. That's
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
can
a.
read.
I think it's totally different. Like I will say book two is much darker than book one.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, yeah. I even put that my author's note has that it gets darker as it goes. There is much darker element in book two. There's more
Mm,
smut in book two, but I will say the smut is warranted. Like it's not just a throw in there, like, oh, here's a sex scene. Like,
mm.
but yes, I am working on a dark romance. So I am working on a dark romance right now. As far as I've gotten into it, I even shock myself because I'm like, did I write that? That's really, really dark. Like, how did we get here?
Look at Shannon. Talking about hell yeah. Oh my god.
Yes.
I okay. Well, when you come out with your dark romance, please let me know.
I
Um,
will.
I might not read it
We're gonna
wholeheartedly.
make it. Oh yeah, it's a requirement. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to Sinners and Stardust this year. I have to be working on
I
a
haven't heard of that one.
Sinners and Stardust.
Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah, it's a convention in Boston.
Mm.
Um, it's all like dark romance, like all dark books. So, and it's you should really look it up. It's dope.
Shannon, you hear that? We already got 10,000 trips we're making this year. Want to add another one?
Oh, they are completely sold out. I think they sold out in less than an hour.
Damn.
Yeah, like last year was their first year and it was such a big hit. Their after party like had the masked men, no shirts. Like it was partying, and then this year they
Damn.
they sold out quick.
I aspired for that level of success.
For real, for
I
real. Like
aspired for that
now I'm
level of
nervous. I'm
success.
like, wait a minute, all I have is this. Here, buy it, please.
Yo, okay. I'm gonna have to check out next year then.
Yeah, and then they added New Orleans too. So that one is Shadows and Seductions, and they just announced their part of their author list, and I was on the first out. So I will be in New Orleans next year. So yeah,
Shannon, I don't feel bad about our BDSM themed book event.
you should not.
I don't feel bad now. So, but once again, thank you. I appreciate you. Any book that you have coming out, don't hesitate to let me know so I could put it out there. And before we go, what book signings are you doing this year? And where can they find everything about you?
Yeah, so you can find everything about me. I have my website is linked on my Instagram. My Instagram is fit.and.fiction. That's TikTok and Instagram. They're both the same name. That's because I'm a personal trainer too. In case they're like, why is it fit in fiction? I'm a personal trainer and an author. And then my website is on there, but I will be doing signings at Romance Con that will be in Milwaukee. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
part of that. I will be doing the Boozy Book Tour. I'm a part of that. I will be at Book Harvest this year in Chicago in October. Um, I had signed up for that before. I was an author, so I'll have a vendor table, but my books will be there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sinners and Stardust. So that's in Boston, and that is where you can find me this year with all my
You
books.
might see me at Book Harvest.
Really?
Yeah, because I was going to go there because I wanted W.S. Greer's books. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even know that you were going to be at that one.
Yeah,
So,
I'm there under Peachy Fit Fitness.
okay. I
Mm-hmm.
am, yeah, I think I'm going to go to that one. Yeah. Because I only reason I was going because I didn't know. I didn't know you were going to be there.
I feel like a lot of people don't know that I'm there because it's not under my author name. It's under Peachy Fit Fitness, but it's me.
Yeah.
So
Well, at
basically,
least I get to get your book.
yeah, yeah, I will be there. I will sign it. I'll be there. Take a bunch of pictures and hugs.
All right. Well, thank you again, and you enjoy your day. And like I said, if you have any new books or anything projects coming up, please hit me up. Don't hesitate. Don't mind making